The 1970s was perhaps the best and most fruitful decade for horror cinema, making it the perfect breeding ground for some of the greatest franchises that have endured the test of time. There are so many excellent horrors from the 70s from some of the greatest auteurs, making this list incredibly difficult to write. However, I did my best and made it as personal as possible, otherwise this list would have been near impossible. So today on Top 10 Beyond the Screen, we're going to be counting down our list of the top 10 scariest horror movies from the 70s. Let's jump in. Coming in at 10, Halloween 1978. Yep, we ain't messing around with this list, folks. We're starting strong. Many credit John Carpenter with the creation of the slasher subgenre. Yeah, they weren't new by the time 1978's Halloween came along. However, Carpenter did improve on the genre, making it more viscerally terrifying to feast upon. Halloween, of course, follows Michael Myers, an unrelenting force of evil that escapes from a mental hospital and returns to the small town of Haddonfield, Illinois to kill again. What makes Halloween so damn good yet terrifying is because Michael is an equally unknowable and unstoppable force. How do you kill something that seemingly can't be killed? How do you catch something that can only be found when it wants to be found? He is evil incarnate, endlessly hunting for his next victim, and thankfully Carpenter blessed us with his perfect opposition, Laurie Strode, played by Jamie Lee Curtis, one of cinema's greatest final girls. Watching Halloween feels like you're watching the creation of something timeless, something that you know will rule for generations to come. Coming in at 9, The Omen 1976. The Omen always makes it onto one of our lists, whether it be cursed films, accidents on set, tragic events, The Omen is ever present. Released back in 1976, this classic horror is right up there with The Exorcist and Rosemary's Baby. Starring Gregory Peck, the film follows an American ambassador who believes his child could be the Antichrist after mysterious deaths begin to surround the family. It's a true thrill ride from start to finish, from the nanny hanging herself at Damien's birthday party to the priest speared by a church spire. The film is glorious in its execution, and each kill is as inventive as the next. The film is tense from the get-go, and having a child play the primary antagonist makes it that much more sinister. Coming in at 8, Dawn of the Dead 1978. Dawn of the Dead is often regarded as the greatest zombie movie ever made, with it constantly pitted up against its predecessor, Night of the Living Dead. The film follows an ever-growing epidemic of zombies that have risen from the dead, with 2 SWAT team members, a traffic reporter and his television executive girlfriend, all seeking refuge in a secluded shopping mall. Now, Dawn of the Dead is a horror sequel in every sense, coming out of the gates bigger and bloodier than before. And that's exactly what George Romero did. The film is unnerving because it departs from the confines of a home for the sprawling reaches of a shopping mall, the empty space and the grand structure filling us with nothing but dread as we patiently wait for the zombies to infiltrate. However, this film is not just a horror, it is also a character drama as the group of strangers are forced to survive an apocalyptic world together. Coming in at 7, The Exorcist 1973. Because, of course, we all knew it would be here, I just imagine you're all expecting it to be a little higher up. But guys, the 70s were the golden era for horror, and this list was incredibly difficult to narrow down, so take it for what it is. To many, The Exorcist is the scariest movie ever made, with its release resulting in many audience members walking out, passing out, or throwing up. Now this could easily be chalked up to the decade in which the film arrived, because as we know, The Exorcist follows the demonic possession of a young girl, the exorcism that ensues to rid her of the demon. For newcomers to the film, it can be a slow burn, yes, but the final exorcism on Regan is stuff that nightmares are made of, and will linger with even the most hardened of horror fans. It's vile and seemingly ungodly to watch, but that's what makes The Exorcist a timeless classic. Its groundbreaking effects and utter shock value. The image of a young Regan impaling herself with a crucifix, crawling down the stairs backwards, and of course rotating her head 180 degrees. The Exorcist is an enduring horror movie, and an example of the heights the horror genre can reach. Coming in at 6, Suspiria 1977. Dario Argento's 1977 movie Suspiria is one of the greatest pieces of cinema in history. It's a masterpiece in Technicolor and the ultimate incarnation of the giallo. Suspiria follows a young American ballet dancer abroad at a prestigious German dance academy where she uncovers a sinister coven of witches. The film is beautiful but also wildly violent with an incredibly progressive rock score. It's visually stunning yet also immersive, making you feel like you're on the same journey as the young protagonist. Now, Deep Red already confirmed it, but Suspiria cemented cemented Dario Argento's place as one of the greatest filmmakers of all time, and the king of horror. Coming in at 5, The Wicker Man, 1973. The Wicker Man is director Robin Hardy's magnum opus, and is perhaps one of the most exceptional films ever made. It's a film that sneaks up on you, it's subtle, eerie, and requires expert patience, yet when it takes you to its finish line, you're left with a sickening knot in your stomach, gasping at what just unfolded in front of your eyes. The Wicker Man follows a police sergeant sent to a Scottish island village in search of a missing girl who the townsfolk claim never existed. Now, much of the film doesn't play out like a traditional horror, but instead it's eerie and jovial. It isn't until the riddle is solved that we as a viewer are rendered helpless alongside our hero, and must watch on in horror at the grim fate that unfolds. Coming in at 4, Carrie, 1976. Ah yes, one of my favourite movies of all time, Carrie. In 1976, Brian De Palma blessed us with one of the greatest adaptations of a Stephen King book, the horror masterpiece that is Carrie. Sissy Spacek takes on the titular role, and plays a sheltered and tormented daughter to a religious abusive mother. However, Carrie soon discovers that she's a telepath and unleashes hell upon the town that has wronged her. You can't help but feel a tender ache for Carrie throughout the entire movie. She's an uninformed girl who was sheltered from reality, making her an easy target for the high school bullies, thus resulting in one of the most iconic scenes in cinematic history. A glowing Carrie atop the stage at prom, just crowned prom queen, and then cue the pig's blood. What makes this film an all-time great is that it makes you root for a beaten down girl, only to then fear her when she rises from the ashes and snaps, murdering everyone in her path. Coming in at 3, Alien, 1979. Ridley Scott's gothic horror is a perfect sci-fi film, and an equally perfect horror movie. Alien sends us into space after a merchant vessel perceives an unknown transmission as a distress call. However, upon landing on the source's moon, one of the crew members is attacked by a mysterious lifeform whose life cycle has merely just begun. The xenomorph is a perfect organism, matched only by its hostility. It is the perfect monster in a perfect movie. Its perfection is thanks to a stellar cast led by Sigourney Weaver and of course Dan O'Bannon's expertly paced screenplay. Every element in the film works because it is doing nothing but pushing us further into the fear, with the presence of each alien cutting us like a knife, making the entire experience ache with unease. But the pain is worth it in every single way. Watch it. Coming in at 2, Black Christmas, 1974. Bob Clark has made 2 Christmas movies. The wondrous 1983 film, A Christmas Story, that came just a short time after he decided to make Christmas terrifying, with 1974's Black Christmas. Marketed as one of the first slasher movies, Black Christmas is subtle yet effective in its tension. It stars Olivia Hussey and Margot Kidder as 2 sisters in a sorority house over Christmas, who begin receiving terrifying calls from a raspy-voiced predator that begins to unravel and murder mystery within the home. The deaths are classy and not overplayed, with the film opting to indulge in some holiday trappings along the way, including a group of Christmas carolers drowning out the sounds of Kidder's murder. Spoiler, sorry. Now, what makes this film truly incredible is that it respects its victims, unlike many slashers. It refuses to over-sexualize the characters, never punishing them for their sexuality. In fact, the final girl of the movie is not only sexually active, but is also struggling with her decision to have an abortion. Black Christmas is one of the most dignified slashers of all time, in turn making it one of the greatest horrors of all time. And finally, coming in at number 1, Jaws, 1975. Now I'm sure a lot of you will be upset with Jaws reigning supreme on our list, but quite honestly, it deserves it, and I would put it the number 1 spot every day of the week. Released back in 1975, Jaws is credited with inventing the summer blockbuster, with the film being a giant in the horror genre, also a giant in cinema as well. It is constantly credited as being one of the greatest films of all time, let alone of the 70s. Jaws of course follows a killer shark that unleashes itself upon a beach community, forcing the local sheriff, a marine biologist, and an old seafarer to hunt down the killer beast. It's a bona fide classic, an enduring film in cinematic history that no matter how many years pass it by, never loses its effect. Now, the magic behind Jaws could very well have been down to one little mishap. Bruce, the mechanical shark used in the movie, notoriously had a lot of issues, with Spielberg being forced to reevaluate the script and use the shark sparingly, a move that paid off in full, with the rare appearances of the shark being absolutely haunting to watch, and left audience members gasping out in horror. Well, there we have it. You guys agree with our list? Were there any horror movies that we missed? Also, let us know if you would like to see this become a series, because there are so many horror films from the 80s that are waiting for us to discuss. And on that note, if you haven't already, be sure to give this video a big thumbs up, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss another Beyond the Screen vid. And until next time, see you later.